Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from Central British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they say, okay, we know where Canada is, British Columbia, on the West Coast, right? Right. And so today we have a very, very interesting guest. His name is Tommy Kilpatrick, and Tommy is an author, a speaker, and an advocate who has built his career in challenging conventional beliefs about debt and banking. And we'll be talking in particular about credit card banking and a whole lot of other issues relating to financial banking. And Tommy, very, very popular on the podcasting scene. And say, Tommy, tell us all about you, starting out from the beginning kind of thing. What brought you into banking, and in particular credit cards and credit card debt? And you were exposed to that and all of a sudden found yourself in an unmanageable amount of debt. And from there on in, the story evolved. So tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I had written a book on health and healing, and in 2004, I was given an infomercial contract, and so I needed to be test marketed for about 6 months on radio. So they booked me, and I needed to be available, so I used my credit cards to live on, and I ran up $85,000, which isn't really much because I was promised $100,000 a month, so
Right.
it's not going to be a big deal at all. But then one of the talents got in trouble with the FTC. He had written a book and he made weight loss claims that weren't really true. So they came down hard on him and the company, and I was canceled. So I left with $85,000 of credit card debt. After a month or so of being in depression, of course, I woke up one morning thinking about my dad. He was a certified public accountant.
Right.
And I realized that the banks did not have an invoice, so there was no debt. And then I have a memory. One of the books we had to read in accounting class when I went to college was Modern Money Mechanics. And it says right there, the bank has to have a promissory note. And I never signed a promissory note. And then my father-in-law at the time was a attorney and a judge. And we had long conversations about fraud undoes all contracts. So I didn't have a contractual agreement with the bank. So I decided to, on my own, sue the banks in federal court. Things were going along pretty well. We were going to have a deposition coming up. That's where the bank was going to send their employee to my office to answer all my questions. And all of a sudden, I got called into court by the judge. He said, Mr. Kilpatrick, you have a credit card? Let me start at the beginning. Oh, we'll start at the beginning a little later. Do you have a credit card? So I said, well, it started off as a gift card. He went, a gift card? Come on now. So he said, open up your wallet. Pull out your card. He said, what does it say right there? Credit card. He says, you're an idiot. Get out of here. So he dismissed my 3 cases all at once. But then a month later, I looked at my credit report, and all 3 banks were off my credit report. My credit score actually improved. So explain that one to me. And that's what happened. And a friend of mine had a charity. So she gave me this dormant charity. I revamped it into credit repair. And many of the people had a little bit of credit card debt, they thought it was, and here and there. And I wrote a letter to the bank, and it was off their credit report, just like what happened to me. So you don't have to take them to court. All you do is have to ask them to close the account. Maybe a little more than that, but that's my basic, what has happened to me. I've helped about 1,000 people.
So all of a sudden, no more debt and no contract.
Well, it wasn't a debt in the first place. Well, let me just say, don't believe me. I'm a doubting Thomas. I want you and your audience to also be a doubting Thomas. And don't believe a single word I say today, okay? I sent you some show notes, and there'll be some links. Look up the links, and it's going to tell you exactly what I'm saying is true. And send this podcast to your certified public accountant or anyone who's had one class of accounting, and they'll tell you I'm right, even though they may have never thought of it this way, but they'll tell you absolutely right. The bank does not have an invoice. There was no loan, and fraud undoes all contracts. So that's my point. So you're a victim. Law is language, and language is law. So if you say you have credit card debt, there's nothing I can do to help you. But if you add the word allege, like we watch a bank robbery in progress on TV, and they say, look at the alleged bank robber, all I'm actually do is add the word allege, and that forces the bank to produce the evidence there is a loan or a debt. There is none.
Interesting. And that is in the United States, and I presume Canada would be the same or similar.
Right. It works everywhere around the entire world. I have discovered that the banks worldwide are committing a fraud on us and deceiving us in these alleged credit card debt. So, what it is, let me just explain first of all, this is not a get at a debt scheme. So, if you
No,
keep saying credit card debt, you've got debt, you've got it. But this is not a scheme that I'm trying to force onto you or
no.
let your audience know how to get out of debt. There are true credit cards. Let me talk about that very quickly. If you have a need for tires, let's say, and you go to a tire store, you can't afford it because they're so expensive. They say, oh, well, wait a second. Why don't you apply for the in-store credit card? And if you're approved, well, you are. Great. So they put tires in your car, you drive away, and you didn't pay for those tires, right?
Right.
So you get a statement at the end of the month, which is true, and they have an outstanding unpaid invoice, which is true, and you owe it. You owe the money. That is a true credit card.
Right.
But how can you tell the difference is look at the back. If the back of Walmart or Amazon or some department store says issued by Bank of America, Bank of Canada, Bank of London, Bank of Tokyo, Bank of India, it's a phony card.
Right. Interesting. And then if I look at it, because credit cards, for most people, without credit cards, they could not possibly function in the world. And you refer to $1.17 trillion in credit card debt in the United States alone as of 2024, and an average of close to about $9,000 per household. That's huge.
It is huge, and it's not a debt. This is the crazy thing. There is no 1.3 to 1.7 trillion dollars of credit card debt. It's what the bank wants you to deposit in your checking account. This is all what you said. We could not function without the credit card account. Bank issued alleged credit card. So let's just go back 100 years, and you were into your general store, and you say, hey, Charlie, I need 5 pounds of flour and a pound of sugar. And they get it to you, and he says, I'll pay you when my crops come in. That's right. But if you said to Charlie, hey, Charlie, can I borrow $10,000? They'd say, what am I, a bank? So banks do loans. They are not merchants. They're incapable of issuing a credit card. That's the fraud. They've lied to you right from the beginning. It's not a credit card that they sent you. So that's where there never could ever have an invoice for it. As we ask them, we ask the bank, if you have an outstanding unpaid invoice, send it to us. If it's valid, we'll pay it. We're not trying to not pay our debts, but there's not a debt. So what we're talking about is that we have a checking account is what it's all about, not a credit card. So
now, just something, so since your case, successful legal case, and since it is the same around the world, would other people not listen to you and say, the experience that Tommy had, I'm going to look at the back of my credit card, 1 or 2, 3, 4, whatever you have, and if it does not say
issued by a bank,
then it is, as you say, a fraud.
That's correct. So it's not for a store, a real store, and even American Express. You say, well, it's not a bank. Yes, it is. Look up American Express. It's a bank, just doesn't have the bank at the end of the name. So all your Bank of America cards and all that kind of things, Citibank and Capital One, those are all bank issued fraudulently. So here's what's happening is that we're now kind of saying that they loaned the money to you. Okay, there's a loan. Well, let me ask you a question. If you apply for a loan and you're turned down, do you still get the loan? Do you get the loan?
No.
If you're turned down? No, of course not.
No.
There's a reason why I have to ask that, because it's a application means a request. Some of your audience is going to say, well, I signed a contract. I signed a promissory note in the application. No, application means what the application means. It means it's a request. So once you're approved of the loan by application, then you go into the bank and you fill out loan documents. You remember that, all the pages. So when you're going for a loan, you have to prove that you have an income.
All
So
25
that's
pages
because
of
if the see, that's what I'm talking about. Those are loan documents. People don't
Right.
forget that. So if the bank was brought into court and the judge says, you're loaning money to people who don't even have an income, that's predatory. So the bank has to have you prove your income, because how are you going to pay the loan back? That doesn't happen in a bank issued alleged credit card. You also have to have collateral. This does not work for a house loan. This does not work for a car loan. It doesn't work for a personal loan you put your yacht up for, because you got a loan and you have collateral. It's the only way the bank can take something from you, sell it, and if they come up short, well, that's their problem. If they come up long, they don't keep the money. They have to give you the excess back to you. So if they take your yacht away from you and you only owe them 100,000, and they got 900,000 from the $1 million yacht, they don't get to keep the 900,000. They got to give you back that. So you also have a credit report, and a credit score determines your interest rate. But the last thing you do is you sign a promissory note. You have to promise to pay it back. If I give you something and you don't promise to pay it back, it's called a gift. Okay. Yeah. That's what this whole thing starts off with, is a gift card. And that's why I said to the judge, when he wouldn't let me start from the beginning, it started as a gift card.
So we should say it's not a credit card, it's a gift card.
Right. Law is language and language is law. So if you use the criminal's language, then you're never going to win the argument. What I'm saying is you just got to start off with the truth. So what is the truth? Banks advertise, right? Absolutely. They advertise all the time. And they have an advertising budget. That's where they get the money from to pay the advertising. Okay. Well, when years ago, your mom walked into a bank because they bought toasters and wall clocks, and they said, oh, ma'am, if you open a bank account today, I have one already, but if you open a second one, we'll give you a toaster. You and your mom bring home a toaster. Your dad comes in from work and says, how did we get a new toaster? The bank gave it to us. Really? Didn't cost you anything. They just gave it to us to open an account. Okay. So there was an ad in the paper one time I saw it. It said, come into our bank and deposit $25 and we'll match it in 90 days. I did. I went in, deposited my $25 in a savings account, waited 91 days, went in, took out $50, my $25 at a bank's $25, and I closed the account. Let me ask you a question. Did I rip off the bank?
No.
Did I steal $25 from the bank?
No.
They gave it to me? No. Is that immoral, what I did? Was that immoral, what I did wrong? You know, like stealing that? No, not immoral. The bank set it up. I took advantage of them. You could say that, but that's the deal. So I walked away with $50. In my show notes on link number 4, there's a guy on YouTube that says, do that. And I made $361. Well, I'm telling you, the same thing is with your $500 Capital One credit card is actually a gift card.
So that being said, Tommy, and then everybody is watching us and they all going to say, get me my wallet because I want to look at my credit card. I want to look at the bank. Does it say a bank? No. So that means it's not enforceable, and it could well be considered every time you use it and you get goods for it, that they will be paid for by a bank because of the gift card that you have. So the bank will pay the debt that you occurred on the basis of that the money that they will give to the person that sold you a product or whatever it is or services, but they gifted it to you, the holder of the card, and paid off the debt for you.
Let's work this through. Okay, so you don't even apply. The card, let's say from Bank of America, arrives at your house. You didn't apply for it. You're pre-approved, or you did apply and they approved you. It's not a loan. You didn't fill any loan documents. So you got a gift card. If you say gift card, you're speaking the truth. Okay, now the next thing. what did you do with your gift card? So let me ask you a question. If I sent you a $500 gift card today, what one thing would you like to buy for $500?
I don't know.
A
Anything.
microphone?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'd say a microphone. Okay, you need a microphone, a nice professional microphone.
Yeah.
So you go to an electronics store and you buy this thing with your gift card.
Right.
You could call it a credit card. I would call it a gift card. So you walk in out of the store and a person at the door says, wait a second, did you pay for that? And you have a receipt, right? So you're not going to ever get a statement at the end of the month from that store. You're never going to have an outstanding unpaid invoice because who paid the store that night or the next day? So who paid? You got a Bank of America credit card, you say. I say you got a Bank of America gift card. So who paid that store the $500?
Well, that is the Bank of America that got gifted you a card to the amount that it is allowed to on the card. And they will gift you. And if you need more credit because you do so much business, then they gift you more. And
that's happened. Let's just stick with the 500. So they gifted you the card. You went to a store. The store gave you their $500 microphone. They gave you a receipt, so you prove that you own that microphone. They can't take it away from you. No. And the bank paid them that night and the next day. How did the bank pay them? Is from their advertising budget. They didn't take a loan out. You didn't take a loan out. They used their app because they wanted to give you a customer. What's the big deal about being a customer? Look it up yourself. I typed this up 2 months ago. What does the average person pay for credit card fees? In America, it's $23.04. So the bank knows in 22 or 23 months, they're going to get back on average $500. That's why they take money out of their advertising budget, give it to you to get you to be a customer. So a customer for them is bringing in, let's say, 1 million card members. Bank of America is getting $23 million a month. And that's about 1/4 of their profits. I've done my own calculation. That's how I came up with the 1/4 profits. So the bank is charging you $23 for a free checking account. That's the fraud. They set this whole thing up to get you to be duped into thinking you have to pay for a free checking account.
Now, you go to Acme Tire Store, you buy with your gift card $500 worth of tires. Now, Acme Tire Store will pay a fee to the gift company as well, right? Because that is part of...
2 or 3%.
How many? 2 or 3%?
About 2 or 3%.
Yeah, so that's what they do. So that is then also income to the gift card fraud, if you wish, that not only are they paying you $23.19, but every time you have a transaction, on the transaction, they make another 2 to 3%. Now, if you do then the calculation, it's very, very interesting, very profitable.
I have never thought of this. I've been doing this for so many years. You're the first podcaster who's ever said that. You're absolutely right. I never thought about that. They are banksters. That's why they are called that. So let's keep this scenario going. Okay, so you get a statement at the end of the month. Now, on your normal checking account, is that statement, is that a bill? Is your normal checking account statement a bill?
No.
Is it? No, it's not a bill. No. It shows your beginning balance,
transaction fees,
deposits, and your transactions, right? And what you have left. That's a statement. Yeah. You may not have an experience that I have had. When I came out of college, I didn't make it all the way to being a CPA. I didn't ever pass a test, but my first job was as an accountant. And the CFO, which is a CPA, came over to me and put a finger in my face, said, if you pay from a statement, I'm going to fire you. He said, our company owners do deals all the time, so don't believe a statement. We could have wrote a check last week before you were hired, and you don't even know we already. So what you do is from a statement, We only pay from an invoice, and they're only approved invoice by a department head. So don't ever pay from a statement. So that's happened to
And
me.
we need a purchase order to boot.
See, I don't know if you heard about that. Just recently, this people got busted. This guy, he was writing invoices out to Amazon and to Microsoft, and made it look really official, like one of their traditional vendors. And so they were paying him millions of dollars from a phony invoice. So they didn't take the advice that I had. So you only pay from an invoice and an approved invoice. So they didn't do that. So that's what you do, is you only pay from an invoice. But you're a good person, you're a moral person, you think you have a debt, and you wrote a $500 check out from the Bank of Canada. Let's just say they're the Bank of Canada, which your bank, your checking account. You wrote a check out. Now, isn't that the first time Bank of America has ever seen your money?
Exactly.
Yeah. If you think about it, a card came in the mail, maybe you approved or not, and you bought something, and all of a sudden you got this bill, you think, and you send a check to them. That's the first time the bank's ever gotten your money. Now, think about this. The banks are only about loans. So if you have no money and you walk into a bank, you hope to come out with money by a loan. If you take money into a bank and leave it there, you are actually loaning the bank money. And that's in my very first link. And that's from a legal website that explains exactly that. You do not make deposits. This is a loan to the bank. It's called a liability on their books. So they can't loan it out. It's on the books there for them. Now, how do you access it? Is with your debit card. This is a checking account, a free checking account that doesn't have checks. You do it with your debit card, which is, you might call it a credit card. So in the beginning, it comes as a gift card. Once you send money to the bank, it now becomes a debit card, because after you made a deposit, every purchase since then has been with your own money. Got to stop and think about this. Every purchase since then has been with your own money. So that's why there's not a $1.3 trillion of credit card debt. It's what the banks want you to fill your checking account back up to, because they charge you on not paying enough. It's your checking account.
Yeah. So where does the debit card come into the picture? The way I know it is that I have a balance in the bank that, rather than using a credit card, I use usually debit cards for paying. I go to Starbucks, buy a coffee. I usually use my debit card, not cash.
Other people might call it a credit card, but again, if you use the language of the criminal, you're never going to win the argument. So everybody knows this. Let me ask you a question. Is it possible for you, your audience, and me too, who've been lied to, indoctrinated, and brainwashed? Is it possible?
Yes.
Yes.
Frequently.
A lie is a lie. See, a lie is a lie, and we can know that. But what happens if it's told generationally? Sonny, this is a credit card. You get it from the bank. You borrowed the money, so you got to pay it. Just like what you said in the beginning. And you're brainwashed into this, okay? I'm not here to insult your audience at all. That's including me too. So how to not be brainwashed is to question. All you have to do is question it. That's all I'm asking you and your audience to do. I do not help anybody unless they have a third party verify what I'm saying is correct. I invite you to bring your attorney to speak with me. How many scammers want to speak to your attorney? I want to talk to your attorney. Only if you have your CPA there too, because they're not going to believe it. They have been brainwashed. They go to court. They see 1,000 cases every day. Everybody got credit card debt. Everybody knows it. It's just automatic. It's like a mill that runs you right through. No one ever questions this.
Let's just step back for a second here, Tommy, and all the things that you say and that we've said together is that credit cards, gift cards, if you wish, if you look at those and everybody is doing what they want them to do, it is that they pay it off, they pay their $23.19 a month, plus they collect a fee from the person that you bought goods from, that if you accumulate it all together, you can only conclude, because credit card debt could well be 20 some odd percent on outstanding balance if you don't pay towards the minimum payment, and all of a sudden you carry a massive amount of debt that could well have to pay 20% or more, even if the Fed rate in your country and the United States, or the rate here, could well be 6%. It may then well be 20 some odd percent. So that, can we not conclude that gift cards, credit cards, debit cards, all the other things related to it, is probably the most profitable element of the banking system?
You got that right. And there's no risk. There was never a risk. They had an advertising budget. They sent you a gift card. You used it. They lied to you, deceived you into paying. I have personally seen 79.9% interest rate on a credit card. That's the highest I've ever seen. I've heard more, but prove it to me. I have seen the documentation. So, and this is on your own money on a free checking account. Now, in the show link, and there's no risk, because now they got you duped into thinking you owe them money. When it's your own money, it's a loan. When you take money into a bank, you're loaning the bank money. So you keep adding to it every month, and that's what you've done. It's just, you can't keep filling up your checking account.
And now
that's okay.
All of a sudden you are not obligated. You are now in a situation where you caught into something you cannot get out of. And you get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And what happens then? It all blows up.
Right.
So how does the bank then? So you thought you were making, as you said earlier, $100,000 a year, and you did all these things, and all of a sudden your credit card debt, gift debt, was up to $85,000. How do you pay it off? What are you going to do? Other than what you did is you look at the back of the card and you went to the lawyer or the judge, and the judge said, no, there is no debt. It's not a credit card, it's a gift card. But do people do it in most cases that are not Tommy Kilpatrick, but they are Joe Blow, average individual, and all of a sudden I'm starting to use credit cards, and they bring up the limit higher and higher and higher, and I keep paying not only the limit, the minimum, but I pay penalty on the outstanding balance of 20%. What happens then? Finally, it all collapses. What happens then?
It's going to collapse on you. And if before that I can help you, in the middle of you have been sued by a bank, I can help you. And even if after that you've already got a judgment and you're paying the bank for these things, I can help you all along the way here. Okay, so the bank is a criminal. You are a victim of a crime. I am your victim's right advocate. So what do we do? How do we? I'm not saying we get out of debt. This is not a get out of debt scheme. You are a victim of a crime committed by the bank. I'm exposing the bank's crime. Okay, so what do we do? First of all, you have to have evidence, right? So you can't do anything without evidence. Where's the evidence? Look at your credit report. If it says Bank America, or it says Amazon, but we know Amazon is put out by a bank, and it says their credit card, you know you've got the evidence of a fraud. Okay, then what do? If you're a victim, you have to go to the police, but you don't go to your local police. They say this is civil. We don't handle that. There are state and federal and provincial authorities that oversee banks, like the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Reserve. There are these in all countries. So you file a complaint. If you have a complaint against a bank, you file a complaint. Now you're a victim officially. Save a copy. So then what we do is we send a letter to the bank. We ask the bank to close your free checking account, because that's what it is. That's in the modern money mechanics. What the banks do is they accept your promissory note first, then they write numbers into your free checking account. That's how they make loans. Well, they are all the only banks involved banks are only involved with loans and with accounts. So they had to count something and they put it into your account. That's a free checking account, but you're not paying for it. This one doesn't have to have checks, but it's through your debit card. So that's what they do. Is you're a victim of a crime, and that's how we have to send a letter to the bank asking to close your free checking account associated with that card. That's all we're asking the bank to do. What we want them to put down is closed by consumer in good standing. We want that good credit on your credit report. Then you can say, oh, Tom, that's not going to work. The bank's not going to do that. That's fine. After 45 days, if that's not off your credit report, then we send a letter to the credit reporting agencies, and we have the documentation that this is a fraud. And by law, they have to remove it. So we can't ask the credit reporting agency to make it good standing, closed by consumer. No, they have to remove it completely off the credit report. After that, I help you, educate you on applying for a new credit card. Okay, so the very next day, you're out of credit card debt. You think you're not. It's just verifying that you're a crime victim. But now I educate you on how you deal with a bankster. And it's not immoral what we do. You said it was not immoral when I went into a bank and got $25 from them. That's the deal. So there is ways that you can profit from this and that you can be successful by fighting back, not being in bank issued alleged credit card debt. And that's where you can come out of this and be successful and get a card. Then you can ask me, Tommy, do you have a card? Yeah. What? Well, about 13 years ago, the wife said, get out and take the dog with you. So I became homeless by choice, and I took a vow of poverty for 10 years. So I had no credit report, no credit score. Knowing I was coming to the Philippines, I needed to buy a airline ticket with a credit card, and I had to rent a car with a credit card. So I applied to Capital One with no score and no history. And they gave me, that's the important word, they gave me a $500 credit card. Now, how'd that happen? I was a previous customer, but that's one of the banks I sued for $35,000. So my clients, the people I help, I'm able to turn right around and get a credit card again. Now they know the risk they're taking. I explain it all to them, but now they know the game. So I got my credit score at 525 immediately with a card. Then I went into a credit union and got a small little installment loan. I jumped to 625. And over the last 6-9 months, I've now got it up to about 710. And I want to get to 800 to prove to you you can do this over and over and over again if you want to.
The key that you mentioned there is credit score. Credit score is very, very important. Banks contribute to that as well as other things, and so that in fact banks are very involved in establishing or contributing to somebody's credit score. That is done by a third party and a number of organizations. And the question is always, what is your credit score? Is it below 6? That is marginal. If you're at 8, then you're at no risk for all intents and purposes. But again, understanding the mechanics around credit scoring is very, very important, I believe, because it will always be at the foundation, and people need to understand it as to how does the mechanics work and how does it affect all the things that you're doing in life as an individual, as a company, as other things. Now, the other question is this one, Tommy, is that with this being said and understood, then they said, Tommy Kilpatrick is not only a problem in the United States with the banking system, but also in Canada and around the world. What are we now you and me are bankers and saying, what are we going to do? Because we know, before we know, we got a flood of people saying, thank you for your gift card. Have a nice day.
Mm-hmm. We would be threatening their profit. Right. What are they doing about it? What they do is when we receive our letter, they remove it off. They put down closed by consumer in good standing. because they don't want the crime to be admitted. They do not want to go into court and have a jury say, yes, bank, you're committing fraud. That'd be in papers all around the world. So they do this very quietly. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Other people, someone in business has got to know this is true. The bank does not have an invoice, so you can't ever write them a check for anything. And there wasn't a loan because federal banking regulations require them to have a promissory note. And so they didn't have that. So other people have figured this out. So why isn't everybody doing this? Well,
Yeah.
I'm here in the Philippines. I'm teaching farmers how to build a dome house with bamboo, so it's free housing. I'm teaching them vertical gardening, so they don't have to bend over like we've been doing for 10,000 years. And I'm here to help them set up free self-managed medical care clinics. To finance this, I came up with the idea of writing a book. So the book I wrote was Forgive and Forget: How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt. And I'm not asking the bank to forgive. No, we are forgiving the bank for doing a fraud committed on us, and now we can forget about it. So that's where those proceeds can help fund what I'm doing. So that was the reason why I wrote the book and did all this. But you're
Have
exactly
you got a copy
right.
of the book close to you there that you can show it to us? Have you got a close copy?
No, it's online. It's on Amazon, and it's in my show link. So I sent you the book so you can look at it.
Forgive and Forget Credit Card Debt. That's the title, right?
Yeah, Forgive and Forget: How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt. But just type up my name, Tommy A. Kilpatrick, on Amazon. It's sold worldwide, and it came out in January 30th. And I've done about 120 podcasts promoting the book. So I've had a great response. The reviews are phenomenal. Not a single podcaster has ever said at this point, no, Tommy, you're actually wrong. You're an idiot. Get off my show. Not a single one. Everyone has agreed. Now, they may not like the concept of you don't owe the money because it's so ingrained in them, but that's okay. So think about this. Let's go another direction. Let's say you buy one share of stock of Bank of America. You're now a bank owner, right?
Yeah.
You want profits. You want that bank to make money because you'll get a dividend, and the more the better, because then the stock price will go up. You'll get more money. Perfect. So let me ask you a question. It's your bank and it's your money. Do you want that loaned out to people who can't pay it back?
No.
Come on now. Second question. Do you want your bank to loan out money to people who don't even have an income?
No.
Come on now. What? And last one. Do you want your bank to loan out your money to people who don't even promise to pay it back?
No.
Come on now. No. It's lunacy. But you want your bank to defraud people? Yes. Lie, cheat, steal, whatever they can to make a profit. Yes. So all we're threatening the bank with is that the exposure, and they don't want exposed. So my best client is this: a company with $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 of bank issued alleged corporate credit card debt, and they call the whole all their bank, all the board of directors have maxed out their cards because they're trying to keep the company going. It would function if they didn't have this debt, they think. So they have all the employees. So they have a meeting, and the vice president is usually the attorney, and he'll say to the whole group, we are victims of fraud by the bank. Let me turn it over to the CFO. The CPA gets up and says, folks, we don't have a credit card. What? Then pull your card out. That's a department store. You owe that one. See how it's not issued by a bank? You owe that. You got to pay that. Okay, so don't worry about the other cards. All the other cards, they're all bank issued. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write a letter to the bank, all of us, the company, the board of directors, and you too, if you want to. Here's the letter to Bank of America. You can put your account number down, and we're going to send this letter to the bank in 45 days because the bank does not have an invoice. They had never issued a loan. And then the attorney gets back up and says fraud undoes all contracts. So we do not have a contractual agreement. And what we're going to do is send this letter to the bank. They're going to see it. And they're going to click, 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 click. And it's going to say closed by consumer in good standing. And your credit score will go up. Now you can get an apartment because they use the credit score. You can get a job because they're looking. If they had two candidates and you have a score of 800 and they have 500, who are they going to pick? You with a score of 800. So I want your score to go right back up in 45 days.
So I have been purchasing items with my own money, thinking I was borrowing from a bank, and I don't owe anything to the bank. It's a gift.
Yeah. It as a start as a gift, get you to be a customer, and then you became a customer. And if you never paid a penny of interest, you're now looking at, oh my God, how am I going to pay this alleged debt? They think, and they haven't even paid a penny of interest yet, or a penny of annual fees and stuff like that. Perfect. They're a perfect kind of a candidate. But we have the other people that are behind, and they're paying and paying and paying on their own checking account. So I try to wake them up, not be brainwashed, just question it, and then take this to somebody else. Show this to somebody who's an accountant, someone in business. They're going to tell you, I'm actually 100% correct. The bank does not have an invoice. There never was a loan, and fraud undoes all contracts. So you do not have a contract agreement. If you use a card, you got to comply with the terms and conditions. No, you don't. Not when there's fraud.
So the banking system, amazingly, is similar around the world. So this podcast that you and me are doing here today will be seen around the world. And
that's absolutely right.
And the same principles apply. Tell us once more about your book. Title.
Sure. It's Forgive and Forget, How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt. And in the book, it has a courtroom scene, and it's very funny, but it happened to me, and it happened to my expert witnesses, which I would bring to court as a CPA. And once I came to court, because sometimes the banks push back on my clients with $20,000, $100,000 of credit card debt, they would push back. So we'd show up for court, and once they saw I had an expert witness, because the attorneys do not want to go in front of the bank, in front of the judge, represent the bank, attorney does not want to go into court representing a client who's got this alleged credit card debt, because the judge is going to say, Mr. Attorney, do you have a credit card? Yes. Do you make payments every month? Yes. And if you don't pay, what's going to happen? I'll be in front of you, Judge. Exactly. I'm going to refer you to the bar to be disbarred because you're bringing a fraud to the court, and two, you've deceived your client. Well, I'm not taking any money. I don't care if you're not taking the money. So then, Judge, does my client have a day in court? Okay, let's see what happens. Then you put the CPA up on a stand and you say, the judge asked me if I had a credit card, and I said yes. Was I wrong? Absolutely. How was I wrong? Well, the bank could never have issued a credit card because they're not a merchant. Okay, well, then they loaned me money. No, they didn't. To loan you money, they have to have a promissory note. That's required by law. No, they didn't do that. And then does fraud undo all contracts? Absolutely. So we do not have a contract agreement. So once the bank sees I have the CPA expert witness, they settle. The funniest thing, we take the settlement paper to the judge reads this, remove it off your credit report, show it as good standing, and no 1099-C. It's like, I've heard the judges mutter underneath their breath going, what do they got on the bank? They must have something, some kind of a blackmail, some kind of evidence we have. And we do. The banks are criminals. That's why we call them banksters. And all it takes is to send a letter to the bank.
And the judge said, case dismissed.
Well, that's how did my federal court case get dismissed? Why was I called into court and not the defendants? It was very strange. My father-in-law said, that's very strange. Only the judges at this point are only about scheduling. Are we on time? When's the trial going to happen? All that kind of stuff. They don't call you in, and not the other side. And that's what happened. The judge read my complaint, got the word from the bank that we're sending somebody to his office for a deposition. We're a bunch of liars, we're cheaters, and you're getting benefit from it, Judge, because you've got all the stock in our company, so you got to get this case dismissed. And that's why they get dismissed. Or other people are doing this around the world quietly. They didn't write a book. They didn't need the money. They're making plenty of money. And so they are having their people to sign a non-disclosure. That's the only way I can figure this out. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not the brainiest guy. I'm just an accountant who knows how to count and has a memory. That's all I got.
So did Tommy Kilpatrick, was sitting there and made interviews and all over the place, did things, racked up and did presentations, racked up $100,000 in debt on his credit card, and owed 80,000 in the credit cards, and you had to do something or go down, and you said, what really do we have here? This is not a credit, this is a racket. And so, and you did your things, you took it to the court, and the judge listened to it, the banks listened, the lawyers listened, and the judge said, case dismissed.
See, that's what happened to me. But 30 days later, it was off my credit report because the bank couldn't trust me. I could have filed an appeal. I could have gotten it back on track. I could have.
They didn't want to go there.
A deposition. They do not want a deposition. They don't want any of that. So they're all,
no.
And there's no cost to them. Remember, you're a customer paying $23 a month. They're going to lose you as a customer. No, I'm going to turn you right back around and reapply for a credit card. You'll be fine. But now you're educated not to get one with an annual fee and never pay a penny of interest. You know it's your money. So only use 10% every month and only buy things that you can pay for. It's a scam, you know, but you have to have the credit card to get an airline ticket, to rent a car, to have a high score, to live in an apartment or get a loan or to get a job. So but you take a risk. So when you hear those credit limit goes down, oh, the bank lowered my credit limit. No, they didn't. That's the criminal language. They stole $250 out of your $500 account. Oh, they closed my account today. No, the bank stole all the money out of your account. So it doesn't matter where you're at in line. If you're just thinking about getting out of this merry-go-round of this being a victim, or you're now a podcaster contacted me 2 weeks ago. He got sued for $3,300 by Citibank. And he goes, what do I do? He had 4 days left before it would be a default judgment, because everybody knows, brainwashed, that this is a debt. You don't have an argument. Anybody who shows up at court just says, yeah, judge, I have a debt. Well, then step outside and work it out with them. They come back, okay, we have agreement, here's your judgment, and you got to pay it. Okay. So, no, we actually fight back. So that's what's happening, is we are able to put the banks on notice that they are the criminal and we are the victim, and we can resolve this that easily.
Credit card debt in 2024 in the United States, nearly $2.2 trillion, $9,000 per family. And that what happens, it's the biggest money maker really for most of the banks, because they are not only collecting the fee of $23.19, they're collecting on either you pay off your credit card on a monthly basis or the minimum amount you pay off, because as soon as you exceed that, you pay 20-30% of interest. And then the more you purchase, you gain, the bank will get 2 or 3% from the people that sold you a product that you bought with the gift card that you got from the bank, and that goes on to the profitability. Collectively, it's a racket.
You got it. You can disagree with me. I encourage you. Okay, Tommy the crazy, a crackpot. I don't care what you call me. Call me any names you want. Doesn't matter to me.
How about Tommy?
Then you have to you disagree with the facts. So you're going to tell me the bank has an invoice. Well, then pay it. You're going to tell me the bank has a loan. Well, then pay it. I'm not telling you to do that. And fraud does not undo contracts. Then fine. Let's say I sell you my house, okay? My house, I sell to you, and you're making payments to me, but I don't disclose. I put toxic waste in the backyard. You move in, your family gets sick, you're gonna die, and you're gonna tell me, some judge, to say, oh, no, sir, you signed a contract, there was no disclosure, too bad for you. You gotta live there and die from the toxic waste. Oh, no, I'm in deep trouble. You get out of that contract of having to pay me for the rest of 30 years payment for the house. So you have to disclose. And the bank did not disclose the scam, the lies they're doing to you. They're charging you interest on a free checking account. They're charging you an annual. I talked to one podcaster. He's paid $800 a year for a credit card. $800 for a free checking account? He's not going to do that anymore. He's going to close that one, and he can reapply and get another one if he wants to. So even if he's got debt, he thinks all I can do is write a letter and send it to the bank. And I'm telling you, in 45 days, it'll be on your credit report, closed by the consumer in good standing. And if not, it'll be removed off your credit report, so your score will go up just like me. So you can do it with me too.
Tommy Kilpatrick, your book's title is again?
Forgive and Forget, How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt. It's on Amazon. It's available anywhere in the world. I offer a free 15-minute consultation. And if you take me up on that, I give you the $69 book for free. So look me up, Tommy A. Kilpatrick on Facebook, or in the show notes, it'll have my email and the landing page. So don't worry about that. Just contact me through Facebook, the easiest way.
And this podcast will have a lot of attention by a lot of people around the world, because banking works the same, not in the States, not in North America, not around the globe. It is all virtually the same. It will have the attention of a lot of people that are up to their eyebrows into credit card debt and are looking at this. And it will have also the attention of bankers, and saying, oh my God, but this is what we did not want to hear. So there we are. Tommy, it was a privilege to have you on my show. This podcast that I do, you're number 472. I have over a million subscribers on YouTube. And this podcast will be released as it was presented within 2 hours. I don't edit anything. It is what it is. It will be available to you and all the people on yours within 2 hours.
Fantastic. Had a great time.
Thanks, Tommy. Take care. Stay in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.